In this spreadsheet, we want to determine how much money we're going to end up with based off of different investment options. So here we have some inputs. If we're going to look at any regular investment, we can have a one-time, put money down, at the very beginning and see how that investment grows, or we can add to it over time with a monthly additional investment, and we want to know how long we're going to invest that money for and what rate to get out. So those are all of our inputs. It's a fairly simple model. Our output, we can just calculate this with using the future value function equals FV. Now, we're kind of mixing months and years here, so we want to make sure everything's in the right, using the same unit of measurement. So the rate, let's convert this 9% annual rate to a monthly rate. Number of periods, that's years times 12. The payment, now I want a positive value for my future values. I'm going to make that a negative number, -1 times 500. I'm going to do the same thing with the present value, -1 times the reference to the one-time investment. You don't have to make those negative numbers. It just means your future value would be negative, which doesn't make me as happy. I want my future value to be a very big positive number. So let's take a look here. So in this scenario, I will end up with $2,701.759. Pretty good chunk of change after 40 years. But let's say I'm not totally sure if I can put this much money down right now or how much money I'm going to be able to invest every month. Maybe I can do more. I could vary a lot of different things. Maybe my expected rate of return, there might be some differences there. So I can evaluate changing all of these inputs using scenarios. So let's go ahead and define those different scenarios right now. So I'm going to come to Data, What If Analysis, Scenario Manager. Looks like I already had these from before, from the answers. So I'm going to go ahead and add them. If they're already there for you, go ahead and delete them so you can add them yourself. It's hard sometimes to clean out these spreadsheets properly to start from scratch. So I'm going to click Add. The scenario name is just something that we have to type in. We'll call this Scenario 1. Very creative. Our changing cells, it's just going to be all of those inputs potentially. So I'm going to select them, click OK, and now it wants to know what values to use. So for this one, Scenario 1, B4, I'm going to refer over here. It's on the same row, which makes it a little bit easier. I can't create a cell reference here though. If you try to say you just can't. You have to type it in, unfortunately. So there's no one-time investment, $500 a month, 40 years, 0.08. So I can click OK or Add. If I click OK, it's just going to bring me back to the main scenario manager. If I click Add, it'll just take me to create a new scenario right away. So I'll click Add, and I'll create Scenario 2. Excel is going to remember the changing cells that I selected last time, so I don't have to modify that. Click OK. 10 grand, 549 looks good. That's basically my starting scenario. We're going to click Add. This will be Scenario 3. Changing cells look good, but we're going to have an initial investment of $25,000, $1,000 a month. We're looking for big money here. These numbers are going to get very big. I'm going to click OK. You'll see it'll take me to the scenario manager. I can still click Add to add more scenarios. We'll call this one Scenario 4, just following our table. Initial investment of $50,000. That's 500. Get the right number of zeros there. 1,000 every month, 40 years at 11%, so that'd be 0.11. And I have one more to go. Scenario 5, same changing cells. but this is going to be 100,000. If you can come up with $100,000 to invest, I envy you. 12%. Click OK. So now I've got my scenarios entered. Now, let's say I want to summarize them, see what the effect truly is. So I'm going to click Summary. The result cells. Here I only have one result cell, so I'm going to highlight cell B10. I could have other calculations in a model, but this is a fairly simple model, so it's just going to be cell B10, and I'm going to click OK. And Excel is going to create a new worksheet for me that will take a little bit of cleanup. Okay, so B4 was our initial investment, monthly investment, years, rate, and this was our future value. So this is just an Excel worksheet, so you can change everything around here. These numbers aren't cell references, they're hard coded in here, so it doesn't matter what you change on your worksheet, the other worksheet, these values are never going to be updated. This is like frozen in time. So let's take a look. If we can't make our initial investment $10,000, even if we're investing $500 a month with a little bit less of a rate, we're coming up $1 million short of where we otherwise could be. So $10,000 and 1% better rate of return gives you an extra $1 million. So that's interesting. We can look at the other scenarios here. Clearly, the more money you put down today, the more money you're going to have in the future. We can see scenario 5, we're ending up with $29 million. Only downside is you have to put $100,000 down and wait 40 years to touch it and hope you can get a 12% return. So there we are. We can compare those different numbers. We can see how much we're comfortable investing and manipulate those values in the different scenarios.